Assalamu alaikum, dear fellows. Today we are going to discuss an important topic of international relation, which is Treaty of Westphalia or Peace of Westphalia. These two names are used interchangeably. This is the term given to the political settlement that ended the 30-year war 1618 to 1648 in Europe. From the late 16th century onward, Central Europe went through a period of intense religious turmoil. This was particularly acute in Germany, where Lutherans, Calvinists, and the Zwinglians challenged the right of the Holy Roman Empire, then under the control of Habsburg of Austria to determine their religious fate. The war began when the Archbishop of Prague destroyed a number of Protestant churches. In response, and after the appeal to the Holy Roman Emperor had failed to settle the issue, Bohemian Protestants stormed the emperor's palace, threw two of his ministers out of the window, deposed the Catholic king, and installed Frederick Elector of the Palatinate in the power. This part of the war ended after Johann Cercles, Count of Tilly, defeated Frederick at the Battle of the White Mountain some year later. But this defeat did not put an end to the enmity between Catholics and the Protestants. On the contrary, the defeat of the Bohemians hammered home the very real danger to Protestantism in other parts of the Europe. In successive attempts, the Danes 1625 to 29 and the Swedes 1630 to 34 battled against the Catholic emperor but failed to overcome his vastly superior forces. It was not until the French joined the Swedes in 1635 that the tide began to turn against the Holy Roman Empire. By this time, the war had lost much of its religious character. The French entered the war around 1635, concerned with the growth of church power in the Central Europe. For them, it was not so much a religious struggle against the Holy Roman Empire as a political struggle for power in the Europe. The combined power of the French and the Swedes was enough to overcome the Holy Roman Empire. In 1644, and after the number of the French-Swedish victories, negotiation to settle the conflict began. Eventually, on 24th October 1648, the Treaty of Westphalia was signed in Münster and Osnabrück. The war had been one of the bloodiest conflicts in the European history. It left Europe in ruins and reduced the population of Germany by almost one half. Towns and the villages vanished. Property was destroyed. Plague and the diseases were rampant. Demobilized mercenaries and the soldiers turned to robbery, and there was a general decline in the European culture. It took almost 200 years for Germany to recover from the effects of the 30-year war. In essence, the war brought the Middle Ages to a close and undermined the power of the Holy Roman Empire in the Europe. The treaty itself is one of the most remarkable documents in the European history. Among other things, it details the return of the territory won during the various battles, absolves the varying parties of the wrongdoing, removes impediments to trade, commerce, communication, and movement, and prescribes the manner in which the armies would be disbanded, and the prisoners set free. The treaty recognized the sovereignty of the German states, the Swiss Confederation, and the Netherlands, whilst the French and the Swedes made significant territorial gains. Moreover, as a consequence of the treaty, French became the dominant state in the Europe. Far more significant, however, is that the treaty is often credited with the establishing the legal basis for the modern state system. Not all the scholars agree on this. Some see the modern state emerging much earlier, others much later. But there is no doubt that the Peace of Westphalia is an important turning point in the European politics and in the world history. The treaty established two core principles. The first was Rex est imperator in regno suo. Literally, it means that the king is sovereign within his own domain and not subject to the political will of anyone else. The settlement recognized the absolute power of the rulers and linked this personal or dynastic rule to a specific territory. The second principle was quis rego is religio. This principle confers upon the king the power to determine which religion would be practiced in his realm. It was a principle that prohibited interference into the internal affairs of other states on religious grounds, and it remains important today in providing the basis for the international law. Thank you so much.